What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fourth and Wrong. I'm Tyler Huck. That's Chris Marler. We are getting ready for the season. But first, before we get into it, Chris, quick housekeeping because it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Same as always. We're gonna rifle through a little housekeeping, if you will, and then we're gonna get going with the pod. 1, like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Yes, please.
If you're on audio, follow the show so it lands on your feed Thursday morning. We're recording here Wednesday evening. You don't have to think about it. It just shows up on your phone. Same thing with the YouTube. We're going to get the YouTube videos going this year a lot more. We're trying to grow subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
People have been clamoring for the super chat. We got to get the views up to get the super chat going. Second item, 5 stars and a review on Apple or Spotify. Write something with some teeth on it, Chris.
Yeah, use your teeth.
That's the stuff. We've made this promise before, but if we get some good reviews, we'll read them live on air. And 3, the big one, Angry Fans Line will be back this year. We don't have the voicemail number quite yet, but you're gonna, if you're a new listener, you may not know this, but as old listeners may know, you call between now and Sunday, leave us a voicemail.
Yeah.
Because Sunday night we have a reaction show. We play the best ones on air. You got a whole Saturday of football.
Mm-hmm.
What's gonna happen to you in just 2 short weeks for some, or I guess 1 short week, somewhat for some.
Yeah.
Like me playing week 0, and then the rest of you in 2 short weeks. We're going to have great voicemails this year, so look out for the number. Don't text your buddy. Just call the number and let the audience hear your voicemail. So, Chris, let's talk ball. SEC.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I love it. We're back. God, it's been a while. It's been since the NFL draft, which is sad.
Yeah, but I mean, also, we put in some good planning for this year. We're very fired up for it. We are going to be doing the live show on Sunday night still, and then Wednesday, like you said, we're going to record a show. It'll be out Thursday morning. It'll be great. And there's been a lot to talk about, but also I'm kind of glad that we didn't have to sit here and be like Brendan Sorsby, all that kind of shit for 4 months. Very fired up for the show. We're gonna do what we do best, or I do best. I think you're the first show, Get Back show. We're gonna do SEC preview, and we got a lot on it. And in that way, instead of doing Big 12 breakdowns, where it's what do you think about BYU and Arizona State? We'll talk about them when they are ready to be relevant. And it's been a slow summer for Mormons, and that is something I think we could all appreciate. But I'm soaked and ready to go. I know you're fired up. We'll get to personal stuff later. And our good friend Edward Booza still here. His face is not here, but he's here. He's like the Holy Spirit. Where do you want to start? Let's do SEC preview for 2026. I'm fired up. It's all I've been talking about all off season. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think the first place we start is the fact that 40% of the league has a new head coach.
Yeah, 5 teams.
Pretty crazy. Isn't it 6?
Yeah, because I don't count Kiffin, but yes, it is.
Why do you not count Kiffin? It's a new coach, isn't it?
I don't even want to tell you, brother. Things I've seen down here in Baton Rouge. No, I mean, because he's still you're right. It's 6 teams.
Yeah, he's not new to the league, I guess, as a head coach, but there are 6 new head coaches for new schools. 3 of them first-time head coaches.
Yeah.
One of them the most expensive hire in conference history.
Who?
Probably Kiffin.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The guy that you don't consider
all the funds. Can't confirm.
So the new coaches, in order of how much we probably care about it, right? Lane Kiffin, LSU, who at this point is preseason number 11?
Number 11 in one and 13 in the other.
Okay, and we'll get back to these in a sec, but then I would say probably most newsworthy would just be the Pete Golding thing, getting elevated and staying as head coach of Ole Miss. Week 3 is going to be crazy. Revenge date, Kiffin returns to Oxford. John Summerall at Florida, a lot of buzz around him down there. Alex Golish at Auburn, coming over from USF, had some great experiences with Byron Brown, who's now the quarterback of Auburn. So we'll see how that goes. Ryan Silverfield, former Memphis coach. We know how those former Memphis coaches do once they get up to the big leagues. Over there at Arkansas. And finally, I think a sneaky hire, could end up being good. He talks a lot, that's for sure, about himself. Will Stein at Kentucky.
Disagree. He only said one thing in media days about himself, and I thought it was great. It was cool. The first 20 minutes of everything he said, it sounded like a valedictorian speech. It was like it's like, we are here today to look at the future, and for tomorrow, what could be today. And you're like, what are you saying? And then finally he gave that answer, which is good. I also want to give a quick shout out, Ryan Silverfield, our first bit of the year. Alex Silverfox or whatever your fucking name is. We're not. I'm going to say committed to not knowing his name. Okay. And it's I do love that he went to media days and had to answer a question about his aura, because the day before I made a meme that went viral about he looked like he worked at a discount tire, and then it apparently triggered him so much that he had to talk about it on stage, which is a beautiful thing. And he's like, I got a hot wife. I got a smoking hot wife.
No.
I don't know.
How did I miss this?
Dude, it was. So I didn't see it until after I left media days, because I didn't stay in for his talk. I don't believe in him. He is ranked very last on my rankings for the coaches. He is, I think, roughly. I don't think he ever finished above third in the American Conference, and we love America, but it's a different league here. We're like the SEC at this point is like 1940s America, like fucking prime, killing it America. Mm-hmm. And I just don't believe in him. And I do think it was funny that he had to say all that. Who do you think has the most? Because I feel like Kiffin's too easy of an answer. But if you were ranking these coaches in terms of success, where do you go?
I unfortunately I think I'd probably have to go Summerall. I mean, he's done really well. Obviously, Kiffin number one.
Yeah.
But had a great run at Tulane, and he did it. This is the second time he did it, because he did really well at Troy too. So he's two different spots. Granted, they're not the SEC, they're not Florida, but he's proven it at two different places. I love the OC hire that he made from Georgia Tech. What's his name? Buster
Faulkner.
Buster Faulkner. Yep. There you go. Georgia Tech, they got Aaron Philo, who kind of feels like there's a lot of like hype around him. He hasn't really played that much. I don't understand why. He wasn't like a high recruit, so but maybe he's shown out down there. I think Florida could be sneaky good this year. I mean, it was never a problem of talent for Billy Napier, and I think a lot of those guys, Summerall was able to get back, including Jaden Baugh, who's a beast of a running back.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he does. I hope he does terrible, to be honest.
I think what's interesting about this year's hires, and I know this has been talked about probably during the offseason, so we'll like steamroll through it real quick. But I'm with you on Kiffin. I think Golding's second. The thing for me with the hires this year, it's interesting because there's 38 new hires around the FBS, the most I've ever had in one single cycle. And when you think about this year in the SEC, almost all the coaches were talked about landing at another spot in the SEC at some point. Like you heard Kiffin to Florida, you heard Summerall to Ole Miss, maybe definitely like to Auburn, Golish to Florida. Like you heard all these different names in different spots where they would go. I think Summerall is going to be good. I don't think they're going to be good yet. I think that I don't trust the quarterback situation. I do love the hire he made with Faulkner. I think that's like an elite hire. Now, my biggest question with Faulkner that no one seems to be asking is like, I trust your offense, but I think a lot of our respect for Buster Faulkner was like, did y'all watch the 8 overtime game against Georgia where Tech almost beat him, but they didn't, blah, blah. And he also had a very unique quarterback. And that's not saying that he can't be successful without Haynes King, but I just wonder, like, what is the offense going to look like? Because Haynes King was beat to a fucking bloody stump by the end of his career. They ran him to death. It was awesome. Like he was strong enough to do it, but like that's a very unique situation and skill set that he was able to have there. So I'm excited to see what he looks like with a different quarterback and what kind of consistency they can have there, especially in this conference. So that one's interesting to me. And I tell you what, we talked nonstop about that game with Kiffin and Golding with good reason. But the game in the afternoon before that is Florida Auburn. And I think that one's even more interesting because of what it will mean for the season for either of these two teams. Because the winner of that one, and I believe in what Lane Kiffin is building at LSU more than any of them. I believe in what Summerall is going to do next year. I believe in what Golding is building for the future, and he's got a very talented roster this year. But Alex Golish feels like a dude. Like, and I think it's good for Auburn that they finally got a guy that's not going to be like, like the Hugh Freeze thing was such a disaster because he was like, it seemed like a perfect fit for their fan base because he said all the right things. What's that?
Never had a quarterback, which is kind of what you need to run that system.
I mean, he could have recruited one.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay Peyton Thorne $390,000 and Jackson Arnold $1.2 million. Like those are decisions you made. So I think now, man, and I'm not a huge believer that it's going to work for him in year one with Byron Brown and the 13 USF transfers. I think them going into the league with an offensive line that is primarily G6 players and a receiving core that's kind of unknowns as well. Like now the defense is going to be good, and the schedule is the easiest it's been in years. Like just the way it sets up. But I think that he is going to be awesome, and I love the fact that like the culture he's bringing to that place, it's much needed.
Chris, out of the 6 new coaches, since we like to get a little crazier on this show, who's the first one that's fired out of this?
Alex Silverfox.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. Because Kentucky is kind of one of those spots where it's like, I mean, look at Stoops. It was like, go 6-6 and you're golden there every year. I mean, I think he actually got a 1-year contract extension if he just went 500 every year. And just chugging along.
And he won 10 games twice. But also, I like Stein because Kentucky, I mean, we'll talk about it for a second. Kentucky, I think, is the most mysterious team in the league because they gave him money. And I didn't think they were going to do that because they gave $22 million for the NIL package for their basketball team last year just for the season. And I was like, well, it's going to be hard to give football a lot of money to recreate that. And they did it. Like they gave him everything he needs to succeed in year one. And they got 29 portal players, 20 of them are from the Power Four, and 14 are from the SEC. So they're going to be really interesting.
I agree. All right, let's go to segment 2 here. Everyone likes to talk about it in the offseason here. Chris, one more league game.
So stupid.
One less cupcake for the SEC to play.
Yeah.
But seriously though, if you look, and we're going to talk win totals here later on, there's not one team in the league that has a double-digit win total.
Yeah.
8.5's the new 9.5, baby. And I'm talking win totals. So obviously, you add powerhouse like Alabama did with Florida State. You just have these powerhouse programs to an already robust schedule, and win totals are coming down across the board.
Yeah, as they should.
Elko said at media days, you're going to have to build mental toughness just to survive this new 9-game schedule. What do you think?
I was getting the snap count. My bad. No, I'm with you. I think it's interesting. Also, I really was starting off by the 1% elitist bullshit you just said about 8.5 being the new 9.5. Those are top tier problems that I don't know a lot of people have. Allie, if you're listening, I'm sorry. So I think the other thing too is if you talk about the 9, I don't think SEC fans or college football fans, but especially SEC fans are ready for this because the thing that we talk about the most about college football, right, is like, hey, I love the nostalgia of it. I love the 90s portion of it. I know you love the fucking 90s of it, where it's like, but part of it is like, hey, if you lose one game, that's what makes college football so difficult and precious, like the season, because it's like, if you lose one, you might be out. Like a tie back in the 90s, you might be out. Like this is, we didn't have we only had 1-2 dogs.
All right. We're back.
I'm sorry, Peppers.
It's been 4 hours since we last left off.
Has not been that long. She did not throw up though, so expect that to happen at some point. So here's the deal. I think that you're gonna have to have it's gonna be a learning curve for fans to be like, okay, 9-3 is not a bad season. Like in the past, for some of these teams that aren't making the playoff anyway, 7-5 is a good year. 8-4 is a good year. Like 9-3 is going to have to be the new 10-win season for some of these teams, because it's not just the fact that they are playing a 9-game conference schedule. It's that they're also having to play a mandatory 10th Power 4 game. And then on top of that, they're doing away with the FCS games late in the year. So it's like, I think that they I'll just say it, I think they kind of cucked into this whole decision of what they were doing with the schedule. The Big Ten was the loudest about this. They bitched the most about it. You saw the gaslighting last year from Cignetti about, we took the SEC approach. And it's like, no, you didn't. That's not what anyone in the SEC does. But you don't have, Indiana doesn't have, I screened this last year and you guys were both like, man, really on the schedule train here with these graphics on. I was like, yeah, everyone's got to know. But like I said all this last year, Indiana didn't have a single Power 4 opponent for the next 5 years. They not only that, didn't have a home game, or I'm sorry, an away game for the next 5 years against Power 4 opponents. And then also is playing an FCS team every year. So SEC fans are gonna have a hard time like learning this, they still doing the whole thing. It was like, well, I mean, if you get 9 wins, you're gonna get in the playoff. We haven't seen that yet, and this is one thing that we've seen consistently from the college football playoff committee, besides idiocy and ridiculousness, is they have not valued strength of schedule hardly at all, like in a consistent year-over-year basis. So I think it'll be interesting. I will say there's like 3 weekends on the entire fucking season that I'm like, I don't really care. There's a like not even that, or like there's a gap. Like if you're a fan, my God, I mean the schedule for some of these days, like we talk about this day, we're all going to be around for it. The day after my wedding, you get South Carolina, Tennessee, you get Texas, Ole Miss, you get Bama, A&M. There's another one that I'm missing. LSU, Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other games. Like I mean, we just mentioned the September 19th thing. Like week 2, you get A&M, Arizona State, and I'm trying to think who was the other one. You get
Michigan,
Ohio State,
Oklahoma.
Texas, Michigan, Oklahoma. Then there's another one in there too that's kind of underrated.
Georgia Tech, Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee, Georgia Tech. And so, like, from a scheduling standpoint, it's going to be awesome, but you're going to have to figure out how to adjust your expectations and how to manage the schedule. And the big thing, too, is some of these teams, like the Big Ten, if you've noticed the way they've scheduled, Penn State could make the playoff this year, and they might be shit. Like, because the schedule's so easy. They don't – the Big Ten is not taking this, like, collective effort to be like, hey, let's like spread around the love and make sure it's equal. Like some teams are going to have everyone's going to have a difficult schedule. No. So it's going to be difficult for the SEC.
Speaking of difficulty in schedule, the AP preseason poll that was released on Monday, SEC led all conferences with 9 ranked teams, including 5 of the top 10. You had Georgia at 3, Texas at 5, A&M at 8, Ole Miss at 9, Oklahoma 10. The Big Ten, 3 national champions in a row. They have 8 ranked, 3 of the top 6. So right now, Big Ten has the trophies. SEC might have the depth this year, so it's going to be an interesting year. I don't know that Indiana makes another run, but we'll see. Week 1, exactly 1 ranked versus ranked game, I believe. Number 24 Louisville at number 9 Ole Miss.
That one's in Nashville too. What's interesting too is there's 2 parts about the AP poll that are interesting to me, which is in the top 10, right? Every year there's always one team. I think there's only been 1 year in the last 22 I think 22 the last 23 years. One team in the top 10 has been unranked at the end of the year completely. We nailed it a couple years ago. We said it was going to be Michigan, and it was. But this year you have 17 games that are scheduled between current top 10 opponents in the initial preseason rankings. And then you look at the back half where the SEC has A&M, Oklahoma, Ole Miss back to back. Those 3 teams, you look at the win totals, which we'll get to here shortly. A&M has the highest at 8.5, but Ole Miss and Oklahoma are both at 7.5. So Vegas is telling you the top 10 teams are all 3 of those top 10 teams are all sitting right around 8 wins, and that is very different than what we're used to.
Very different. Maybe we don't talk enough about that, Chris, but let's talk about how much we do talk about some of these things. Maybe things that have been a little bit over talked about over the course of the summer. Overplayed storylines. I mean, for me, it's got to be the Kiffin stuff. It's honestly a little bit draining. I'm kind of glad he left social media. Is he back on? I'm not even paying attention anymore.
Was it draining for you? Over in Atlanta, working your normal job? Is it too much for you?
Look, it's a great story, but I think it's been told at this point. Until week 3 happens, we can stop all the, he's such a bad guy. Like, I think I'm over it at least. I don't know about you.
I've been over it. This whole thing, this offseason, there's some really cool storylines, even in this rivalry. I mean, guys like Whit Weeks coming back for another year. Some of these freshmen that are going to come in, like LSU might start 3 freshmen on the defensive line, like Trinidad Chambliss being, getting an 8th year of eligibility, but also being like the most likable and root for type of player in the entire conference, maybe the country. There's some great storylines that are all overshadowed because we just keep talking about this stupid storyline. So I've been over it for a long time. I think this is my most overplayed storyline for sure. It's because it's just been, man, there's so many good games on the schedule. Both these teams play Texas. I think those are great games on the schedule. there's also a part of it. It's like, like going into year one with Pete Golding. I mean, he's going into year one as a coach in the SEC. I know he did the playoff last year, but it's a brand new year. What are the expectations in both these places? Like, there's so many better storylines even there. So I think this is easily the most overplayed storyline.
I even though we're kind of a product of this, we just talked about it, the 9-game schedule.
Yeah.
Like every coach at media days, every preview, we just did it. Every win total, explain, everything's about the 9-game schedule. And honestly, it's a real thing. Yes. But
yeah,
do we really care that much? I mean, at
I
the
don't
end
think
of the day,
fans get it.
yeah.
I really don't.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, like everybody else wins, right? Because if it's the second Saturday in September and your team's playing Eastern Tennessee State,
yeah,
would you rather that? Yes, for a dub, I guess. But I got to think that as the playoffs expand and everyone has harder schedules, you're right. The losses aren't going to matter as much. I hate that, but that's just the way it is. If that's the case, then I'd rather see my team go up and play in Alabama rather than Western Kentucky. So at the end of the day, we win as fans.
Well, Western Kentucky mascot's fucking awesome. I'll say that. Also, it was a girl the whole time. Yeah, she was a mascot. You didn't see that unveiling? I follow her on Instagram. Not the person, but the mascot, not the actual girl.
How did she unveil herself as a woman?
So, they did a thing at graduation with like the Gamecock mascot will wear the Gamecock feet to graduation. They're like, oh, that's been cocky the whole time. She just wears, I don't know what, that giant blob under her gown. I don't know. But it is, I agree with you in terms of that. I think what I don't want to see is that they're going to get to 24, whether we like it or not. They're going to blow right past 16. They're going to get to 24 and they're going to say it's good for the sport, but they're going to still keep all the 12-game conference schedules. Now you have to deal with the TV rights for the SEC championship game. And that's clearly not going to matter as much anymore. You saw last year how much that dictated people's perception of Alabama. Like Alabama's coming off a 10-2, just whether it's right or wrong, just hear me out. Like that, they were coming off a 10-2 regular season where the only loss they had was like in their final 11 games as a college football playoff team. They had the Florida State game. They beat Georgia on the road, but everyone's been like, well, they fucking suck. They lost to Indiana. They lost to Georgia. And so that kind of thing will be interesting. And this, I just maintain that this whole thing was very easy to fix. You make 8 conference games for every single conference, and then you put 2 Power 4 opponents everywhere else, and you make everyone play that, and then you go from there. That is schedule a crossover every year with the SEC is going to play the Big Ten this year and the ACC. Next year it's going to be this. And it's pretty simple, and they just have not figured out a way to do that. But we're going to start seeing 8 and 4 teams sneak into the playoff. It's going to be awful.
That it is. Let's move on to underplayed or under talked about storylines here. I'll let you start this time because I started last time, but I've got an interesting one.
Okay. I think my underplayed is probably the transfer portal stuff and where it could end up. Like the portal itself is less of a disaster in terms of the calendar, but some of these players and what they're making, it just feels like you got to have a cap on it. And we kind of breezed past it because it involved Trump or involved politics. So it's like, everyone's like, oh, great, they're going to help out. And it's like, I mean, they're not going to send ICE into the homes of G6 players. Everything's going to be fine. Or I don't know, maybe they will. But I think that looking at this now, there's several things that they could do to fix it where it's like, hey, have a one-time transfer thing, have this. And there's solutions here, but I think we got so lost in yelling at each other about what's best, or the moment politicians got involved, it just never got figured out and fixed.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being a little bit under talked about. How about the fact that Ole Miss is preseason number 9 and they have a win total of 7.5?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild, dude.
That's wild.
I mean, you go just a little bit below that and you're talking about barely making a bowl. I mean, and they're preseason number 9.
Right.
So I think that's just Ole Miss is just one case of that, but you'll see that when we look at the win totals. That's kind of across the board, pretty crazy. The other thing is a lot of talk about Kiffin in year one. I'm looking at that schedule, Chris. Is it true that their road games include, obviously the Ole Miss one is the big one. You go on the road to Kentucky, Auburn, and Arkansas, who arguably, I mean, obviously all three of those have new coaches.
Yep.
I believe two of them are first-time coaches. And your other road games obviously are going to be the Ole Miss game and then Tennessee. I thought Texas was at home.
Wait, who are you talking about? LSU?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The home game, the home schedule's fucking
Home schedule is great. So
well,
compare that, number one portal class. Like, is there a chance that Kiffin just goes full, like, heel and just skyrockets to top 5 team first year?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think they're going to go undefeated to Texas.
That would be nuts.
I mean, but I and also I just, if we're being honest, I thought you were going to go first. I kind of fucking shit the bed on this entire topic. I will say that I think one of the things that's interesting with him is that there's a couple teams in this league that are like, hey, you have really, really good portal classes, right? You brought in some really great players. They're number one. But then you also have this freshman class coming in with some elite talent, like where you like in positions of need, like on the defensive line. For them, you brought in multiple 5-star defensive linemen, an edge rusher that was ranked number 1 in the country. From ESPN, you brought Richard Anderson in, which around Louisiana, people have said that he's the best defensive line prospect since like Marcus Spears in the last like 20, 25 years. And then, oh, by the way, the retention side of it, you kept Trey Desgreen, you kept Harlem Berry, you kept some guys on the offensive line, you kept Whit Weeks, DJ Pickett, like 5 stars everywhere. Like they're loaded. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of retention pieces that we're just not talking about, and I'll rattle some off. The ones I just spoke about, LSU and South Carolina, I think are the two that are very similar with the way they've constructed their roster that way. LSU better than South Carolina, but South Carolina on a lesser scale. And the other part of it's like the retention pieces from coordinators. I mean, DJ Durkin's still at Auburn. That gives you a fighting chance no matter what. The continuity you still have at Georgia from their staff. I'm trying to think of where else you could look. I mean, South Carolina kept Clayton White. Tennessee, they everyone keeps talking about the freshman quarterback situation and how they got a new quarterback. Well, they've had a new quarterback in each of the last 5 years under Heupel. They brought in Jim Knowles as the defensive coordinator to pair with Rodney Gardner on the defensive line. So there's some really elite coordinator hires, I think, here. And then the other part of it too is the adverse that the coordinators that left. A&M lost their offensive coordinator to go to Kansas State, along with 4 offensive linemen. And we'll get into that, I'm sure, with the over-under part of it. But there's some other areas that I think that we're not talking nearly enough about. And we won't.
So we don't want to talk about how Bama still doesn't have a QB 1 week away from the season.
It's the least of their problems. They have a fucking center named Racing Delgatti, who's from Cal Poly.
That is tough, Raisin.
Racing Delgatti. He
will go by Raisin until he proves himself.
That is the least Alabama thing. All jokes aside, that's the least Alabama thing I've heard in probably 2 decades.
The least Alabama thing is that we have gone pretty much the entire pod and barely talked about Alabama in an SEC only preview pod. And you've got a Cox hat on. You've got an Auburn cup. I don't know how you've lost yourself. You live in Baton Rouge. This is insane. You two are getting a couple of these as well from our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks. Very pumped about this. A partner for this season. And we got some news on that front too. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't believe in Alabama this year. I don't think and maybe I am totally wrong, because all the people that I've seen that are usually smarter than me, they're still ranking them high. They're still saying they can make the playoff. They're still saying that there's enough talent there. I think the receivers are going to be really good. I think the quarterback, whoever they start, I still think it's going to be Keelan Russell, are going to be really good. I think the secondary is going to be really good, and their front 4 might be good, but they're very thin in the trenches. They were lost 6 of 7 in the front 7 defensively, and here's the other thing too. That's not a defense that's like, hey, go get after the quarterback's ass and make sure we rack up all these sacks. And no, they don't do that at all. Like, it's like, they were very flimsy last year defensively. And that is
I don't. Here's the thing. You talk about the quarterback thing all you want, and I get it. Your offensive line was dog shit last year, and you were last. You had less than 100 yards rushing on average per game, like for the first time in like 70 years. You ranked 126th in the country in rush yards per game, and you lost 4 starters on the offensive line, including what was essentially a 3-year starter at center, who's like two at Bama, 1 at Washington, and a top 12 pick in the NFL draft at left tackle. And you're like, yeah, we'll be all right. We're gonna really run it this time. And the offensive coordinator saying dumb shit like, yeah, we want to get really big in the trenches, like mass kicks ass. And you're like, that's a fucking stupid saying, dude. Like, you had -3 rushing yards against Georgia. So that's where I'm at with Bama.
Mass does not necessarily kick ass.
I can confirm.
That's fair. All right. Next segment, we're going to go down a little bit in the dock here, but we're going to most overrated team this year in the SEC. I mean, Chris, could it be Alabama? Could it be?
No.
Okay. Who is your candidate for most overrated team?
Hump Mags. All them little boys out there out in College Station. Here's the deal. Happy birthday, Kip.
Hey, Kip.
So it's gonna be not a happy birthday for Kip this year. I don't understand the A&M love. Now, there's something about. Hey, babe, Allie's home. There's something about A&M's schedule that I do love, but it's so perfectly and beautifully set up for 8-4. And I'll start there. They only have 2 difficult games in the first 2 months of the season. At the end of September, they play on the road at LSU, and at the end of October, the day after the wedding, they play at Alabama. But here's the thing: they get LSU the week after they play Kentucky and Arizona State. An intriguing game, but a game they're favored by 15.5 in. LSU the week before plays at Ole Miss. So you get them in a really opportune spot. When they play on the road at Alabama, Alabama's coming off the heels of Georgia and Tennessee. Before that, it's Mississippi State and South Carolina, which are also going to be tough games. But Georgia and Tennessee, and it'll be their 8th straight game. And A&M's coming off Missouri and the Citadel, with the Citadel the week before. So, like, they could theoretically start 7-1 or 8-0. And then they get to fucking November, and it's Carolina on the road, which they got beat by 24 their last time, Tennessee at home, Oklahoma on the road, and then Texas. They're losing those last 2 games no matter what. I think they're going to go 8-4. But the thing that I don't understand with this love for A&M, if you're asking me to buy stock in A&M in the future, I'm all in. Like they've spent so much and recruited these shits out of this 2027 class. It's unbelievable how many 5-stars they brought in. They have recruited very well. So back to A&M.
Yep.
Look at us working through technical difficulties like day one. Love it. So the A&M thing, what I don't understand is people didn't talk about this at Texas last year, and it was a huge issue. So they've kind of given you the blueprint for it. And that Texas team was way more talented than this year's A&M team on paper. I love what A&M is building for the future. I fully believe in and invested into that. I think that they've really committed to making sure they're not going to be outbid necessarily in the portal, but they're also building from like within in terms of their actual recruiting classes. They're loaded for the future. And I think Mike Elko is a great coach who's done a great job at making this a fun brand again that people actually like and don't just make fun of all the time, like we did when we started the segment. But here's the other part of it. He's going through something that first-year coaches or new coaches kind of struggle with when they have to go through, which is replacing coordinators. It's one of the reasons I'm not super high on Oregon this year, that everyone seems to be like kind of like glazing a little bit because of all the talent they have there, but they have 2 new coordinators. With A&M, it's very similar to Texas, who came in last year where they had like, oh man, Texas is, they're coming off 2 years. They made the playoff. They made the semifinals both years. They had 23 combined draft picks in a 2-year span, which was huge. Sure, they lost 4 starters in the offensive line. They were all drafted in the NFL. It's a really talented team. Sure, they lost all these first-round talent at receiver. They had to replace this, and all these different players, which is also not something Texas had done. Like, Texas had not been pouring kids or pumping kids into the NFL at that rate with 23 players in 2 years. That's a lot to replace, no matter how great the recruiting classes are and how great your portal classes are. Well, A&M last year had they had 177 combined starts in the offensive line. It was the most in the country by far. You lost 4 starters to that offensive line. You brought in some guys from the portal that are okay, but I can tell you right now, as a South Carolina person, Trevon Boss sucked. He graded out as like a 29 against LSU, and he might be the starter at right guard. He was terrible. But you lose 4 out of 5 there on the offensive line. You have you have to replace a first-round draft pick at receiver that was also an elite return man with KC Concepcion. And on top of all that, you have a coordinator. You have to replace that offensive coordinator. You hired from within. And I just don't think that replacing all of that with a schedule that has at LSU, Texas at home, at Oklahoma, 2 of those, I mean, like all 3 of those teams are going to be in contention for the playoff. I think all 3 are going to make it. And then at Carolina, at Alabama, and then Tennessee at home. What are we talking about? Marcel Reed was second to last in the SEC last year in interceptions thrown. And you're taking away weapons from him and a new offensive coordinator. That's like, I'm very confused why everyone's like, oh yeah, they're just going to pick up where they left off, because they've never done that before. Give me a fart noise, Booza.
I will give you one quick overrated team, and then we'll jump to the underrated.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Missouri. AP 25. First of all, to reference the win total, 6.5 for the win total. They return only 6 starters, none on defense. None. They were an 8-win team last year. So I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. Austin Simmons is their QB, 2 career starts in 3 years. They have a new OC. That 2025 defense obviously was awesome, but it's been gutted. None of those guys are playing again on the Missouri team. It's their 25th or top 25 ranking is basically built on the reputation of last year's team, which in the poor, come on, guys, we can't be doing that. Their best defender, Damon Wilson, gone.
Miami.
Schedule is considerably harder than the last few years. Like Missouri had the easy schedule in the SEC, it felt like the last few years.
Yeah.
This year, not as much. So, I'm gonna go with Missouri here. You go
great pick.
Look, at Kansas, like, you may laugh, but Kansas actually turned into a decent program. That Missouri, I think, is a 6.5-point favorite. So I mean, it's not
Kelly's
like
playing.
Okay, but then I'm taking Kansas. Obviously,
he's from St. Louis, so I mean,
you got Florida at home, which we'll see what Florida's like. But then you got A&M on the road, Ole Miss, get a little reprieve, but it's on the road at Arkansas. Then you go Texas at Georgia, Kentucky, and then finish against Oklahoma. That schedule is brutal.
Also on the road at Mississippi State.
I don't think Missouri's making a bowl this year. I'm just gonna say that.
I don't know if I'm ready to say they're not going to make a bowl, because I think Drakewood's been great. They've been to 5 straight bowls. I'm with you on this. I've said this earlier this week in an article I wrote about, like, you talk about SEC bias all you want. I think it's overrated. The conversations we're having about some of those top 10 teams, I think that part is exaggerated. But Missouri being in at 25. Now, keep in mind, the narrative that you're just shoving Missouri in there every year is not real. Like, I think before 2023, they hadn't been ranked in the preseason top 25 since 2015. So, like, that narrative is a little bit flimsy and not real. That being said, you brought up Damon Wilson. They also lost Zion Young, who was a second-round pick, and Jeremiah Trotter, I think his name was. Or was it? I can't remember his name.
Jeremiah Trotter.
He's the linebacker. He's sitting down with Tampa Bay now, but he was like a second or third-round pick. You lost 43% of your total production for sacks, tackles for loss, and pressures. And I think Austin Simmons is awesome. I think he's going to be the best, the most talented quarterback that Drakewitz has had from a skill standpoint. But you also lost Kevin Coleman, your top receiver. Like, and oh, by the way, Ahmad Hardy was shot in the offseason, and he's not going to be 100% to come back yet. Like, they got a great backup who was really good last year and averaged over 6.07 yards per carry, which is third in the SEC. Tyler, this is the best point anyone's made on the entire show, is you picking Missouri. That's and I've talked 98% of it. So great job.
Don't forget about your boy Chris McClellan, who was D-line, third-round pick, and then they had an O-lineman picked in the third round as well. So a lot of talent off the board there for Missouri. Harder schedule. My most overrated team of the SEC. Let's go to underrated here. It's a little bit more fun. We got to give some people their due. I'll start this one out. How about your boy, Lane Kiffin at LSU?
Underrated?
Underrated.
Okay.
I feel like most teams at this point. Now, granted, they are a top 10 team, or they're 11 in the AP.
Yeah.
I look at that schedule. I look at how fast in this era teams can turn. Number 1 portal class. He's obviously got the pedigree. Sam Levitt at QB. You got to have the QB in place. I think he could be one of the best in the conference this year. No Georgia on the schedule. No Oklahoma on the schedule. A&M, Bama, Texas, all in Baton Rouge.
And Clemson.
Yep. Best roster that money can buy at this point. Maybe Ohio State would have something to say about that. But what are they, plus 900?
I hammer it.
Right. I just think as much talk about Kiffin, there has been about Kiffin, it's been mostly about the breakup with Ole Miss, not like, hey, what if they're really good right away? Like, really good.
Yeah.
And I think they could be underrated here. Their win total is 8.5. So we'll see. I think they
tell me a quarterback that's failed in his system.
Austin Simmons, the Missouri quarterback. No, he only played 2 games.
He also now part of that's interesting too, because I think he would have lost the starting job either way, but that was a $3 million, what I was told, a $3 million investment from their NIL package. And then they got Trinidad, I think it was either $450 or $600 to be the backup. And obviously Trinidad Chambliss became elite. Now you can make the argument like, well, how come you didn't start him over that? It's like, well, I mean, Simmons was, $3 million investment is pretty big, right? Yeah. And also he's a former 4-star recruit that's like, a very, very high upside kid. Also a phenomenal leader. Like when I was at the Sugar Bowl last year, still led them out onto the field. Like after all that, even though he was the starter. Anyway, there's not a quarterback that's failed in that system. Jacob Coker threw for 30 touchdowns, or had 30 touchdowns that year for Alabama, the year that Henry had a bazillion carries. He's gone over some of the stats, or one of the local media guys, Buddy Sanji, has over here. He's led the SEC. It seems to have led the SEC in rushing cumulatively in the last 5 years since the green dot has been put in for like the helmet communication. They lead the country, not the SEC, in yards per game, passing yards, and also total points. Like
that's kind of crazy. What a stat!
Yeah, Buddy Sanji, man, he's fucking killing it.
You're like I didn't look that up, but it sounds right.
He did, and Kiffin then confirmed it. So. I think that there's just like, you might not know the names of the receivers yet, but you will. You might not know who they're going to have as the, the running back yet, but you will. And the big thing too, man, everyone keeps talking about that offense. Blake Baker's defense took a huge step forward last year, and they are loaded this year, especially in the back seven. So I'm with you on that. I'm going to go in a different direction. And I'm telling you right now, I think Oklahoma is the one you could throw here because they have 7.5 as their win total, but they're also still ranked in the top 10, which doesn't feel super underrated. There's a team in Columbia, South Carolina, Tyler.
Ooh, okay. Too close to this situation. We can't.
No. I will present all factual information. You can hear me out.
This guy's best friends with Shane Bieber. Now he's just like, oh, Cox for the ship. Oh.
Did have Beamer on the podcast earlier this week. It was awesome. Still wild that we're in a StreamYard and he just said Shane Beamer has entered the chat. I'm like, that's crazy.
You're having technical difficulties. Like, hold on, coach.
So sorry, you're an echo. So no, it was the part was really cool. It's also wild that like confirmed by the SID and confirmed by the SID. The SID, he did say something about like the thing in Tampa, but also like people in the staff are like, he loves you, dude. He likes you a lot. He thinks your social media is great. And I'm like, what is happening? Like what? No one thinks that.
He does kind of seem like a guy that would like your social media.
I feel like that's an insult. I don't like it. So
right, we'll move on.
It's mind blowing to me. Anyway, but here's the thing with South Carolina. You have a couple of things that no one else in the country has. Not just the SEC, but no one else in the country. You also have a couple of things that a few other teams do have around the country. And all those teams are being talked about in just glowing reviews. I'll start at quarterback. You have a third-year starter at quarterback. You have Kendall Briles, somebody you're familiar with, and an offensive coordinator that is really good, and at the very least is a massive upgrade from what you've had.
Yeah.
Mike Shula was terrible last year. Like he was terrible last year. And it was a mix of things that made it so bad, but it was a lot of play calling, a lot of play design, and something that this year you've got a OC that's like, hey, you know what we should do is that 6'3", 240-pound unicorn. What if we ran him a little bit? What if we like catered the offense to his skill set? So I love that. You've had the worst offensive line in the SEC for the last 2 years. You've had over 40 sacks in the last 3 years each. Well, you went out and got Jakarius Peak, who's ranked ahead of Jordan Seaton in the transfer portal at left tackle, potential first-round pick. Also, got him for like half the price. We love a value steal. We love that a lot.
NC State?
What?
Was he NC State, Jakarius Peak?
Yeah. You've got arguably the best defensive player in the country, an edge rusher in Dylan Stewart. You have a defense that has forced more turnovers than anyone else in the SEC in the last 5 years with 110. And you're returning all 3 starting linebackers. You've got the best depth you've ever had under Beamer and probably in the last 15 years at defensive line, in the interior defensive line. You've got a blueprint on the way the roster is constructed. It's very similar to 2024, where you had a 5-star freshman, Dylan Stewart, on the other side of Kyle Kennard. Well, this year you got Stewart on one side and another 5-star freshman, Julian Walker, on the other side. I already mentioned the linebackers. You've got a defensive backfield coached by Torian Gray. They put 8 kids in the league in the last 6 years, and you return 3 out of 5 starters. I mean, everywhere you look, they have gotten better. The floor has been raised significantly. Oh, by the way, 48% blue chip ratio, the highest you've ever had, right below that 50% line. The only reason it went under 50% is because you signed a couple of JUCO kids and FCS kids in the offseason for the offensive line to bolster that. You have the most experienced transfer portal class with 77 years of combined of college eligibility that you brought in, and the most returning production out of any team in the SEC at number 5 in the country. Here's the last thing I'll say to you, because I know these are all things that people have not heard or talked about. I've been screaming it from the rooftops. Forget Kendall Briles and how great his offense has been in comparison to South Carolina. Forget all the stuff I talked about, the defense, all that kind of stuff. If you looked at something ESPN came out with the other day about the tiers of NFL talent per college team, Tier 1, Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Oregon, right? Really elite talent. They're going to put a lot of kids in the pros, blah, blah, blah. Tier 2, Georgia, Ole Miss. And then I believe the last one was, actually, I think Ohio State was in Tier 2, but I think those are the 3. The 4th team in the Tier 2 was South Carolina. Now, there's 8 teams in those 2 tiers I just talked about. 7 of them are ranked. One's not. It's South Carolina. Projected 3 first-round picks on the roster, 7 total draft picks on the roster as of right now. But not only are those other 7 teams ranked, they're all ranked in the top 11 in the country.
Okay.
All the pieces are in place, and the schedule is the easiest it's been in a decade. It's still hard, but it's the easiest it's been in a decade.
Let's get it done, Shane.
Huh?
Let's get it done, Shane.
I think they're going to challenge for a playoff spot. I think they're going to win 9 games.
I love that. All right, let's get to our favorite segment of the year. Every year. Win total bets. We're obviously sticking just to the SEC. We'll have a nice little graphic that we'll put up here in a second. How do you want to go about this? I mean, we want to go best bets. We just want to tackle the top teams and then maybe sprinkle in some of the bottom teams. Oh boy. Where do we want to go with the season win totals? Again,
up to you.
No double digit win totals this year in the SEC. In fact, Booza, if you wouldn't mind, if you could figure out how to bring up our beautiful graphic. Look at that, dude. Unbelievable. We are a real podcast at this point.
We are.
You've got Alabama at 8.5.
Why don't we go over under on each, and then you tell me your best bets?
Okay. All right. Alabama's at 8.5. Just off the rip, how you feeling about that number?
Under, they go 8-4.
Arkansas, tough year, went winless in the SEC last year. 4.5 is their win total at this point. How you feeling on Arkansas?
Under, 3-9.
Yeah, don't love
Utah
that.
In the non
Utah,
by the way, on the road.
Utah's on the road. Yeah.
And then they come back and play Georgia at home. Like, okay,
talk about getting bullied in the trenches.
Yeah.
All right, an interesting one here. Auburn 6.5 goalish. Year 1 got Byron Brown. Should know the system. 6.5 on Auburn. Where are you at there? I kind of like Auburn a little bit.
I do too. I hate to say it. Now, there's a scary scenario here that Bama loses to Georgia like they should, on the road at Tennessee like they should, an A&M team that's ranked higher than them like they should, LSU on the road like they should. That's 4 losses there. You're having to tell me now that they don't lose to Mississippi State or South Carolina, which is still going to be dicey. And you're going into the end of the year with an Auburn team, by the way, who plays nobody in the month of November. Could be, kind of soaring going into the end of the season, and a Bama team that has nothing to play for like they're usually used to. That's a scary. It's in Bryant-Denny. That's a scary thought.
Yeah. It is for you. Yes, it is. Florida 7.5. I look at Florida's schedule. Always tough. Seems like they've always got to, and they do have a tough little run there where you go. I mean, listen. Anytime you're on the road against an Auburn, still a tough game, but hopefully, that's an interesting game too, because Summerall, everyone thought he was going to Auburn.
Right.
But that little stretch there where you go Ole Miss, at Missouri, South Carolina, at Texas, at UGA, Oklahoma. It's a tough little run.
What's the easiest game in that group?
Gosh, I mean, it's tough to take one of the road games. So I guess
South Carolina at home.
Yeah, you'd have to say it's South Carolina at home.
And these fucking morons decided to schedule it for homecoming and wear Steve Spurrier themed helmets. Like, dude, lay low.
I will say those jerseys are kind of sick though.
They are.
I hate
the helmet's sick, but I'm with you on that. You think under?
Like I said, I do like Summerall, but God, it's just year one Aaron Philo versus Tramel Jones Jr. is their QB battle. I don't love that for year one, so I'm going to go under.
I got them going under. There's a very real possibility that they go 5-7, and it's after going 2-0, 0-7, and 3-0. And that's going to be a miserable season.
Yeah, and look, they finished with at Kentucky, Vandy at home, and then at Florida State, which I don't believe will be too much of a challenge this year, but Florida might not be either, so we'll see. Highest win total, or at least tied for it in the league, Georgia at 9.5.
We're going to do our predictions to who wins the conference after this? Okay.
Yeah. A lot of talk about Kirby hadn't won a playoff game since, I believe, 2022.
It's such a dumb stat, but yeah.
It is a dumb stat.
What a terrible... Dude, they've lost it. What? What are you talking about?
You guys haven't won one since 2013 because there wasn't a playoff? Florida State.
Right.
So I feel horrible for you guys that you haven't won one since 2021.
It's unbelievable.
But Georgia, obviously, they bring back a ton of talent, as they normally do. Gunnar Stockton back at the helm. 2 straight SEC titles. The last time Georgia won fewer than 10 games was the 2020 season, when there was probably not even 10 games to be played.
Yeah, and 9-2.
Before that was Kirby's first year in 2016.
Oh, they were
10
8-2
years
in 2020 because Vanderbilt canceled the game.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right though. The other one's 2016. Go ahead, my bad.
So it's been 10 years. So they would have to, in order to not win 10 games, they would break a streak there. Do you think over under here for Georgia? I'm gonna say over.
It's my worst take of the year, and I'll give you the first half of it. They're gonna go 12-0.
Oh,
look at the schedule, dude. Toughest games are at Ole Miss and at Alabama. They get Oklahoma at home. Who else do they play?
Well, you've got, the start of the season's tough. You got to admit.
Charlotte,
Tennessee State, right?
I don't know.
Western Kentucky,
the Blob,
at Arkansas. Then you got the home game against Oklahoma, Vandy, at Alabama, Auburn before you have a bye. So, yeah, you're right. I mean,
it's the easiest schedule in the SEC. And this Georgia team, they're going to be loaded in the trenches. The defensive line will be the best defensive line they've had since 2021 or 2022. I mean, they are going to be very good up front. Elijah Griffin going into year 2. I don't even know who the linebackers are. I think Chris Cole is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Pencil him in for at least a semifinalist in the Butkus, because that's what they always do.
75 tackles.
And then you have the secondary, which would be good. Kirby talked about this in the offseason. He was like the continuity they have from the portal, they don't lose anybody. To the portal at least. the continuity they have on the staff, they've got 8 dudes on that staff that have been there forever. I think for like 9 years or something crazy like that. They don't lose either the coordinators. Mike Bobo still is one of the most underrated coordinators. He's got the most underrated quarterback in the country. If you don't think Gunnar Stockton's good, go put on the tape of what he did in the fourth quarter and in the second half, and really the whole game against Tennessee and Ole Miss last year. Dude, what a privileged life you have to lead to be like, well, fucking program's falling off, dude. They won the SEC each of the last 2 years. Before that, they lost it kind of on a fluke with a couple bad turnovers late against Alabama by 4 points. And they've lost the playoff, dude. That's terrible. It's an embarrassment of riches everywhere on the field except for at receiver. And they don't need it because guess what, Tyler? Guess what Georgia has fucking done? They have the deepest tight end room you could fucking imagine. Once a bunch of white dudes that are just built different, that are going to be the best tight end group in America. So you don't even need Isaiah Cannon to be like who's going to step up receiver? Who cares? If their screen passes nonstop anyway, it's going to be miserable to watch. They're going to be the most ugly 12-0 team ever. Like not like Notre Dame 2012 ugly, but I mean like they're going to win 38-10 and Kirby's like, God damn it, we gave up a touchdown in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes left. You're like, cool, man. How what else happened?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if it'll be that easy for Georgia. I'm not that big of a believer, but I do think 9.5 we can go over. Let's go quickly here with a couple of 4.5. We'll skip over LSU right now. Kentucky and Mississippi State. See either one of those going over 4.5?
I think both will. I think Mississippi State definitely will. You could sell me on Kentucky again. They're very mysterious. I love Kenny Minchie. He's going to be very good. I think the offensive line is one of the more underrated ones in the country. Mississippi State definitely over. And I don't know if they'll make a bowl, but Kamario Taylor is good enough to ruin someone's season.
Okay, I like that. Let's go with a 5.5 total here. Vanderbilt. Obviously, Pavia's gone, but you do have the number one player, or at least number one quarterback in the country, Jared Curtis. What's the story with them? I mean, I feel like we've been on the Vandy over train every year since they were getting 2.5 win totals. Yeah. Now they're just the belle of the ball at 5.5, but I'm just going to stick with my Vandy every year. Clark Lee over 5.5.
Hammer the under. It might be the easiest bet to make in this entire thing.
Wow.
Hammer.
How dare you disrespect Clark Lee like that?
It's too high. They lost a 38-year-old at quarterback.
Yeah, well, now you got a 17-year-old. So
he might not even start. They're going to start Blaze Borowitz or some stupid fucking name.
Trust the process, Chris. Over on the doors.
Okay.
6.5, South Carolina. Obviously, you're going to take the over.
Hammer.
Missouri, 6.5. We're taking the under on them as well. A couple 7.5 teams. Oklahoma and Tennessee.
Ooh. Both
I
underrated.
like Oklahoma a lot better than Tennessee, but just because Mateer versus Faison Brandon, true freshman versus a dude who's, I think, 28.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing about Tennessee. They've had a first-year starter at quarterback in each of the last 5 years under Heupel, and they've finished either first or second in the SEC in scoring in 4 of those 5 years. They've been very, very good with quarterbacks in their first year under Heupel, not just Tennessee, but dating back to when he was the OC at Mizzou. Big believer in them. They also, here's the thing too, they returned four out of 5 starters on the offensive line. They returned, I think, to be the best offensive line in the SEC. David Sanders Jr. at left tackle, former 5-star, got several. They got a key piece from Notre Dame, I think, at center. You have 2 800-yard receivers coming back. You also have your first 1,000-yard rusher returning in a decade. They're loaded. They just need to figure out how to get their quarterback up to speed, which I think they will. Defense is the question. Dude, what's up with Jim Knowles just being allowed to be like, yeah, man, it takes about 2 years to understand my system. Like, it can't, dude. It can't anymore. So that is going to be interesting. And they also are very thin on the defensive line because of what they lost with Chaz Coleman and some other pieces. I still like the over.
Okay. All right. And with, let's see, who else is 7.5? Oklahoma. What about them? Do you like
hammer the over? I think they go 9-3 or 10-2.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be one of the better teams in the conference. And then some 8.5 teams. We've already talked largely about these, but quick over under 8.5 for Texas A&M. You like under?
Under.
I'm going to go over there. Ole Miss, 8.5. I'm going to go under.
What do you mean you're going over at A&M? I talked for 12 minutes about why you shouldn't.
Well, I'm going against you.
All right, fine.
8.5. I like Elko a lot.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. And for Ole Miss, simple reasoning would be I think they went on a bit of a emotional run at the end of last year, but now this is Pete Golding's first offseason with the team.
Yeah.
It's his first, like, he had the perfect situation to take over because it was like he was internal. The team was mad as hell. We wanted to make a run against, our coach leaving us. But now it's a new season, and you're a top 10 team again. I mean, great. I like Trinidad Chambliss a lot, and he showed out in the playoffs. But I'm not buying 8.5. What about you?
Lose 5 of your top 6 pass catchers. I love Kewan Lacey. He's great, but you pay $2 million for a running back, and not saying the college is the same as the NFL, but like that's a lot to pay for a running back. The defense should be better, but Golding's never been a great defensive coordinator. He's just been in good spots. Like he's been at Bama, and then he had they had a ton of talent 2 years ago. I think they're under because the schedule is really tough. Watch out for Louisville, man. Like here's the thing about Ole Miss. Golding has, in his first year as a head coach, he has Texas, LSU, Georgia, and Oklahoma on the schedule. I think those are all 4 losses. You also have Louisville on a neutral site, and then you have who's the one I just brought up after that? Louisville on a neutral site, and then you have the week after they play LSU on the road at Florida. And every time we see a new coach, no matter how great they are, there's always one slip up in like the first year, like some mistake that it's a learning curve. Like Kirby did it his first year. They lost to Vanderbilt, right? I have a hard time believing he's not going to have that type of issue in year one, no matter who is on his team. And I think they go under.
LSU, I'm going over. How about you?
Over.
Yeah. All right. One team we have almost gone the entire pod not talking about is the Texas Longhorns. Now, the greater media landscape seems to love Texas. Obviously, we got the Arch Manning story, which to me, I think could have gone in our over talked about storylines. I'm not sure that Arch has really performed on the level where I think we just need to have him as a shoe-in for the Heisman. I got to say, I think Texas might be one of the more overrated teams on this list, even though they're 9.5. I mean, I love Cam Coleman.
Yeah.
Of course, they got Cam Coleman. That is nice. Little arch to Cam Coleman is nice. But Sark just, I don't know. I don't believe in him. You got Ohio State in week 2. It is a home game. Then you go UTSA, but then on the road against Tennessee. That could be a sneaky game, depending on how good Faison Brandon is at that point. Then, obviously, you've got the Red River, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, all at home, and then you got a little bit of a gauntlet there at the end of the year. I mean, Missouri, we'll see. It's on the road, but then you add LSU and then add A&M to end the year.
Yeah.
So 9.5. I mean, I think there's just enough trip ups here on this schedule to go under, and I'm gonna take Sark to screw it up somehow.
I don't dislike anything you just said or disagree with anything you just said to an extent.
Except for
$47 million roster. You returned 4 or 5 on the offensive line. You made a really, really good purchases in the portal. Cam Coleman is great. So is Ryan Wingo. So is some of the freshmen they brought in. You have 6 5-stars in the defensive backfield. You have Colin Simmons, who might be one of the best edge rushers in the entire country. You got talent everywhere. You brought back some fucking center that couldn't make an NFL squad because of the new rules. You get to have him back in the offensive line as well. You have Arch Manning, who is finally playing up to his potential. And as long as they don't have a lot of drops, I think they'd be really good. He was great the rest of the into the season after they dropped a couple early. I look at Texas and I say, you have 4 players that are currently projected in the top 15 overall of next year's NFL draft, and they're all at the best and most important positions: quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher, and receiver. And there's still more talent to boot. The problem with Texas last year that no one wanted to talk about was the offensive line and all the people they had to replace. And oh, by the way, everyone talks about how they throw the ball over the field in a Sark offense. Well, this offense has put up over an average of 2,450 yards rushing in his first 4 years. Last year, that number dropped to 1,600. You went out and got 2 of the top running backs in the country in the portal to run behind that offensive line. the second part of my worst take of this year, and maybe the worst take I've had in the history of this show, Tyler, besides DJU winning the Heisman. That was
that was the worst.
No, he's going to do it, brother. I think Texas goes undefeated too.
What?
Yeah, I think Texas and Georgia both go undefeated and meet in Atlanta.
And then Georgia wins again.
You want to get into the last part of the show?
We should. Okay, so you like Texas. All right, so SEC futures. Who do you like? I mean, you go in Georgia 3 straight years? I think we've both.
I hate this because I hate going against the track record. And you and I both know I have gone so fucking ham on don't give Texas. They got to go through Georgia. When that fucking thing kicks off and blah, 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 you got to line up and play Georgia. And at some point, we'll do that again this year. But I think Texas wins this year. And I think that they are good enough to win the national title, but I think they're also good enough to win the SEC. And I wonder if the combination of it, you look at these two rosters, maybe Texas truly does have a Kirby Smart problem. Like maybe this is a thing where it's like Saban had it with Gus Malzahn. There's certain coaches, like Georgia had it against Spurrier and whatever else. Like maybe this is a situation where it's like, man, Texas just has a fucking Georgia problem. But you went out and got Will Muschamp, who's very familiar with that defense. Maybe he's a good coordinator. He's got enough talent. 6 5-stars in the secondary, dude. I mean, they're loaded. And I think that they are better at quarterback. I think they're better at certain spots. But at receiver, I mean, Georgia, what does Georgia have that scares you? And if you're looking at a roster where they're so similar across the board, and you got to go score a touchdown, and you got to go make a play on 3rd and 12, like Gunnar Stockton's great, but I think that this is the year that Texas finally gets over the hump, and we're never gonna fucking hear the end of it.
Wow.
I know, I hate it.
I'm gonna take who I trust in December. And it's not going to be against Texas, though. It's going to be against Texas A&M. I do like Elko. I think Texas A&M is going to be there in the end, but got to go Georgia.
Okay. 3rd
straight year. Until I'm proven differently, I trust. Look, there's going to be a lot of good teams throughout the regular season, but when the rubber meets the road, Chris.
Hell yeah, dude.
When it's nut cutting time. I take Kirby Smart and the Dogs all day long.
Nut cutting time? Is that a thing?
Could be.
Should be.
Well, Chris, this has been phenomenal. So I'm taking Georgia. You're taking Texas. We'll keep the tallies of what we chose for over-unders. Yeah. And this season's going to be great. We're going to have our first live show this Sunday.
Oh, no. What happened?
Oh, here I am, baby. I'm back. Boys are back in town. You're gonna see us live on Sundays for the reaction shows every Sunday. First one, August 29th. We will have that. I don't know that we'll necessarily be reacting to week 0 per se, but it's more of a celebration of the start to the year. We're not going to get a bunch of previews for a bunch of conferences. We feed the audience what they want.
Yeah,
our audience loves the SEC, so this was your SEC preview. Don't forget. YouTube, like and subscribe. Go on Apple and Spotify, 5 stars with a review. Give us your best review. We'll read them on air. Angry Fans will be back this year, better than ever. We'll get to it. Chris, anything before we leave?
No, I'm excited, dude. Great job. This has been fun.
All right.
Shout out to Eddie putting this thing together as well. Love the new graphics. I'm very excited for the season. We've really put in a lot more work, I think, this year. And I'm just I'm just very excited for this year. It's going to be great.
Let's go. And don't forget, Chris. Everybody else doesn't know this. Maybe they do because they saw social media today, but we do have a new sponsor for the year. Our first on the Fourth and Wrong podcast.
That's right.
A lot to share on that live show. August 29th was when we'll be back live. We'll see you in the chat. For Chris, I'm Tyler. Peace out, everybody. See you soon.